and non-striated, voluntary and involuntary muscle. The striated muscles, they have a special structure of the striation in the muscle fiber. The muscle cell is known as the muscle fiber, and the some muscles they have striations in the cell or the fiber. They are known as the striated muscle. So it has a special function. The striation they give special structure to the skeletal muscles, so they are known as the striated muscle. And similar, the cardiac muscles have the striations, and they are also included in the striated muscle. So you will be seeing in the diagram that how they are known as the striated. The muscle cell or the muscle fiber, they have the small striations at the equal distance, and they are known as the striated muscle. And the skeletal and the cardiac muscle are the striated muscle, while the non-striated muscle is the smooth muscle, because the smooth tunnel fiber do not have any striation in its cell. Voluntary and involuntary, there are some muscles, they are under the will, they act under the will of the individual, while the others are automatically functioning and performing their function. That is the smooth muscles and the cardiac muscles. And the cardiac muscles are, although they are striated, but they are involuntary. The human being is sleeping, but the cardiac muscles are functioning and they are performing their function. Similarly, the smooth muscles of the abdomen and the intestines, they have the peristaltic movement, which are not under the control of the human being, and they are performing their function without the will of the individual. So the basic classification is the striated and non-striated, voluntary and involuntary. The striated are the skeletal muscle and the cardiac muscle, and non-striated are the smooth muscle, and while the voluntary is only skeletal muscle and the rest two are involuntary. So this diagram will be giving you a picture of the all the three types of muscle. On the upper left side, you can see the muscle fiber, the skeletal muscle fiber of the skeletal muscles. You can see the peripheral nuclei. The nuclei are present on the periphery, and this muscle cell is known as the muscle fiber. The fiber is the name given to the muscle cell, and there are plenty of nuclei which are located on the periphery, and they are up to 30 to 35 nuclei per millimeter of the muscle fiber. And you can see the cross bands in the belly and the body of the muscle fiber or the muscle cell. These are, so they are known as the striated muscles. On the right side, upper right side, these are the branch cells, and these are the cardiac muscle fibers. They are branched fibers, and they have the striation similar like the skeletal muscle. And below is the structure of the smooth muscle fiber. You can't see any striation. There are single cell, single nucleus in the one muscle fiber or the muscle cell. While in the cardiac muscles fibers and the skeletal muscle fiber, you can see more than one nuclei in the periphery, located in the periphery. While in the smooth muscle fiber, each cell has only one nuclei. So this is the histological structure later. So the nomenclature, special nomenclature given to the muscle cells is the muscle cell is known as the fiber. These are elongated cells as compared to the epithelial cells are the neurons. So muscle cells are the longitudinal fiber-like. So that is known as the muscle fiber. The cytoplasm of the muscle fiber is known as the sarcoplasm. The cell membrane of in the normal cell is known as the sarcolemma in the muscle fiber, and the cytoplasmic filaments are known as the myofibrils. So filaments in the cytoplasm, they are known as the myofibril. So the muscle fiber is a name given to the muscle cell. The cytoplasm is known as the sarcoplasm. The cell membrane is known as the sarcolemma, and the cytoplasmic filaments are known as the myofibrils. So muscle, the bulk of the muscle, that is the composition of the muscle fiber, and these muscle fibers, they collect to form the fasciculi or the group of fibers, and then the fasciculi, they combine together to form a full muscle. So the whole muscle is covered by a connective tissue investment, which is known as the epimysium. Epimysium is sheath of dense irregular connective tissue that surround the entire muscle. Any muscle, like the latissimus dorsi or the brachialis, radialis, these muscles are covered by a connective tissue cover, which is dense irregular connective tissue and known as the epimysium. In this epimysium, the blood vessel nerves, they penetrate through it, and they run in the epimysium. Then the muscle bundle of fasciculi, a bundle or fasciculi, that is the bundle of fibers, they are covered by another connective tissue covering, which is known as the perimysium. That is again the dense irregular connective tissue. And each muscle fibers is covered by the endomysium. So muscle fiber above the sarcolemma or the cell membrane, there is a smooth connective tissue covering, which is known as the endomysium. You can see in this diagram the structure of the muscle. So this is the muscle which is connected to the bone by the help of the tendon. You can see the tendon, the whitish structure connected to the bone, and then the reddish muscle. So in this is the whole muscle. Any muscle of the body you can name. So this whole muscle is covered by a connective tissue investment, which is known as the epimysium. You can see the epimysium. Then below the epimysium, there are bundles of the muscle fibers, and each bundle is again invested in a connective tissue investment, and this connective tissue investment is known as the perimysium. Then bundle of fibers or the group of fibers have each muscle fiber. You can see in protruding muscle fiber, striated one, and this muscle is again covered by connective tissue investment, which is known as the endomysium. And they are very special function. These connective tissue coverings, their special function that the blood vessel, the nerve, the neuromuscular junctions, the nerves of the neuromuscular are running in these connective tissue investments. So each muscle fibers, they group together to form a fasciculi, and each fiber is covered by the endomysium. Then the group or fascicle is covered by the perimysium, and these group of different fasciculi, they are forming the muscle, and the whole muscle is covered by epimysium. These connective tissue investments are obvious from this diagram here. So what is the skeletal muscle fiber? Skeletal muscle fiber is cylindrical in shape and tapering at the rounded ends. It has striations or the bands, cross bands appearing with the alternating light and dark bands. We will be discussing in detail when we will be discussing the histology of the muscle fiber. The width of the muscle fiber may be 10 to 100 micron meters, and the length is very long. It may range from millimeters to centimeters. The external lamina representing basal lamina between the endomysium and the sarcolemma. So the basal lamina is again present between the endomysium and the sarcolemma. So each muscle fiber has three coverings. Each muscle fiber above the sarcolemma has an basal lamina and then endomysium. The nuclei are ovoid shaped, located peripherally below the cell membrane, and they are about 30 to 35 nuclei per millimeter. So each muscle fiber has many nuclei. You know that nuclei are the source of power. So as the muscle fibers, they need much more power for contraction and relaxation. That's why the nuclei are much more in the skeletal muscle. So this diagram will give you a detailed picture of that is the bundle of muscle fiber. The uppermost picture will give you a fasciculi or the bundle of muscle fibers. Then the fibers or the muscle cells are they're present in the fasciculi, you can see, and then each muscle fiber, they have small myofibrils. These you can see the myofibrils in the muscle fiber. So muscle fiber is, which is basically cell, and cell is rich in the filaments which are forming the myofibrils, and these myofibrils, they are composed of the microfilaments. So myofibrils are the microfilaments. They combine together to form the myofibril, and myofibril has the alternate dark and light bands. You can see under the diagram on the lower side. You can see different lines, that is, they are given the Z line, M line, H zone, and sarcomere, and each. So that is the histological. mm, we will be discussing the histology, but you must remember the different names. That the bundle of fibers are the fasciculi. They are composed of muscle fibers. And each muscle fiber has myofibril, and myofibril is made up by the myofilaments. So what is the red, white, and intermediate muscle fibers? You know that the red meat and the white meat, like the chicken has a white meat, and the bull has a cow has the red meat. Similarly, in the human being, there are both type of the muscle, red and white. The red are more powerful because of the more vascularity, more nuclei, and the white is less powerful. And the red and the white meat has different structures. The sarcoplasm of the skeletal muscles contain a protein, myoglobin. So the cytoplasm of the skeletal muscle fiber, or the sarcoplasm of the skeletal muscle fiber, contain a protein which is known as the myoglobin. Myoglobin is reddish in color. The amount of myoglobin varies and form the red fibers, which are the slow twitch fibers. Slow twitch fibers, the white fiber, they are fast twitch fibers, and intermediate fiber. So myoglobin, they vary in different muscles, and they form the red fiber. When the amount of myoglobin is much more, they form the red fibers, and when the amount is less, then is the white fibers, and in between is the intermediate fibers. The red fibers are slow twitch fibers, and the white fibers are fast twitch fibers. So connective tissue associated with the skeletal muscles, superficial fascia. All the muscles are covered by superficial fascia, that is the outer fatty, and it has outer fatty layer and the inner fibrous layer. And the function of this fascia is storage of energy in the adipose tissue and prevention of the body from the heat. Prevention of the body heat, that is, heat is not lost from the body. So that is the connection. That is the function of the connective tissue covering the skeletal muscles. The deep fascia, below the superficial fascia, you know there is a deep fascia, and it is tough inelastic membrane and form tight sleeves in the limbs. So the deep fascia is very important as far as the muscular tissue is concerned. That these tight sleeves, the group of muscles, they run in these tight sleeves of the deep fascia. That is the tough inelastic membrane of the deep fascia, in which different muscles of the same group are running, in addition to the epimysium. The intermuscular septa between the different groups of the muscles, there are septa which are attached to the bone and form the osteofacial compartments. You have discussed this thing in your gross anatomy. So this osteofacial compartments of different groups of muscles is made up by the deep fascia. Then this deep fascia, they have a special forms, that are they are known as the reticula, aponeurosis, and the tendons. So the structure of deep fascia associated with the muscles, they are reticula, aponeurosis, tendons, ligaments, and the synovial sheath. These are the modification of the deep fascia and associated with the muscular tissue or the muscles. So in this picture, you can see the retinaculum. This is the flexor retinaculum. That is a connective tissue band. You can see the connective tissue band, which is enclosing the different tendons running towards the digits or the fingers. So they are holding together the tendons coming from the forearm, then going to the different fingers, and their tendons are held together by special modification of the D fascia, which is known as the retinaculum. That is on the back side of, as on the forearm, and they know the flexor retinaculum. So retinaculum is special modification of the D fascia, holding the flexor tendon of the forearm. So then the D fascia, modification of D fascia in the palm of the hand, there are no the epineurosis. There is special thick band of the D fascia. Superficial transverse metacarpal ligament. These ligaments, it is known as the palmar epineurosis or the epineurosis palmaris. So they are holding tendon of the palmaris longus. You can see this light blue color of the flat band of the D fascia, which is known as the epineurosis. So then are the tendons. All the muscles, the belly of the muscle, which is red, while they're ending, the tapering end is whitish in color and made up by the dense regular connective tissue and very strong in unstretchable band of the tendons of the D fascia. This is modification of the D fascia, which is connecting the muscle belly towards the bones. So these are known as the tendon. You have all the muscles have the tendon by which the muscles are attached to the bones. So you can see the tendon of the gastrocnemius muscle, and this is known as the tendocalcaneus, and the very strong inelastic band of the D fascia modified as tendons. Then are the ligaments. So these ligaments are small, strong bands of the D fascia, which have high strength and connect the bones together. This is the diagram of the knee joint, and you can see the ligaments which are connecting different bones together. So these are the ligaments which are small connective tissue modification, which are tightly connecting the bones together, and inelastic and very strong D fascia modification. You can see the ligaments. So the other modification of the D fascia are the synovial sheaths. These synovial sheaths, these are small tunnels in which the tendons are running, and there is slight fluid present in these tunnels are the sheaths, synovial sheaths. Are this help in the free movement of the tendon in the synovial sheath, are the special tunnels made up by the D fascia. You can see the synovial sheath in the fingers. The tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis, and they are profound in the common synovial sheath. Similarly, flexor pollicis longus, there is a sheath. You can see the sheath in which the tendons are running. So there is very free movement of the tendon. If there is any disease, you cannot, the movement of the hand is restricted due to if there is a disease in the synovial sheath. So this is the modification of the D fascia. So that was the different modification of the D fascia related to the muscle tissue. So what are the parts of different muscle? The skeletal muscle has a fleshy part and two ends. The fleshy part is known as the belly or gaster and made up of the striated muscle, skeletal muscle fiber. The fibrous tissue is present at the both ends of the belly, which is known as tendon. It is a modification of the D fascia, and it has an origin or insertion. They are originating from one bone and inserted in the other bone. The point from where the muscle is originating, that is known as the origin, and where it is being inserted, that is known as insertion. And the origin is stable, and the insertion part, the contraction, due to the contraction of the muscle, the insertion part moves and form the movement of the flexion or the extension or circumduction and whatever, pronation, supination. So each muscle has the fleshy part, which is known as the belly or the gaster, and then attachment to the bone by the help of tendons. So the muscles, the skeletal muscles, may originate from a cartilage, may originate from the fascia, from tendons, ligaments, articular capsule, or intermuscular septa, in addition to the bones. So it is not necessary that all the skeletal muscles are originating from the bone or being inserted in the bone. They may originate from the other structures. If in certain cases the muscle is originating from the cartilage, and the example is inferior constrictor muscle. They may originate from the fascia, that the muscle platysma in the neck is originating from the fascia and not attached to the bone. Then they may originate from the tendons. Lumbrical muscles of the hand, they are originating from the tendons. Then ligaments, trapezius is a muscle which is originating from the tendon, not from the bone. Articular capsule of the joint, gastrocnemius muscle, is originating from the capsule of the joint, knee joint. And intermuscular septa, brachioradialis muscle, is originating from the intermuscular septa. So it is not necessary that the muscles are always originating from the bone or inserting in the bone. They may originate from the other structures other than the bone. As you have seen different examples, it may originate from the cartilage, fascia, tendon, ligaments, articular capsule, or the intermuscular septa. The examples are given in front of each. Mainly bone, but insertion, of course, that is mainly bone, but may also be inserted in the cartilage. That is the example is nasalis, the muscles of the nose. Then it may be inserted in the fascia, the tensor fasciae lata, and may be inserted in the skin. The muscles of the face, they are being inserted in the skin, and that gives you the facial impression, because the muscles, the skeletal muscles, are inserted in the skin of the face. And then they may be inserted in the muscle, in the raphe of the muscle. When will be multipinnate and bipinnate muscle will be discussing, you will be seeing that the muscle fibers are attached to the special tendinous or fibrous attachments in between the muscles, and these are known as the muscle raphe. And this is the insertion to the muscle fibers. So the muscle may be originating mainly from the bone, but other structure I will discuss, and also the inserted and other structure other than the bone. So what is the lubricating mechanism of the muscle tendon? We have discussed the synovial sheath. They are forming the tunnels, and there are synovial bursa. The synovial bursa is located below the tendons of the large muscles, and they give a cushion, they provide a cushion below the movement. So the lubricating mechanism is there, and then there are the synovial membrane, the synovial fluid located inside the synovial membrane, which give a lubricating system to the joint. So that was all about the skeletal muscles. In case of smooth muscles, the smoother muscles are non-striated. They are fusiform in shape. They have tapering ends and a thick belly or the gaster. They are only single nucleus in the muscle fiber, and they are present in the viscera of the abdominal viscera. The muscle fibers present in the walls of the blood vessels, in the walls of the intestines, the stomach, and all the tubular digestive system. They have a smooth muscle membrane, which is known as the muscularis externa, made up by the circular and longitudinal muscle fibers, and they are made up by the smooth muscle. These smooth muscle fibers, they are involuntary, and they are under the control of the autonomic nervous system, and they are performing their function automatically. Then is the cardiac muscle, they are striated muscle. The striated muscles, they are branched muscles and very powerful, and they are connected together by special muscle cell junction, which is known as intercalated discs. And they are again striated but involuntary, and they are performing their function without the will of the individual. So that was all about the general introduction of the muscle. In the next lecture, we'll be discussing the detailed classification of the muscle fiber, which is required in the general knowledge. Okay, thank you very much.
Allah Hafiz, sir.